tumbled rocks today, but that doesn't mean that gorgeous. This is Carolite, which apparently only comes from one place, somewhere in Russia. I'm fairly ignorant, but somebody's probably going to see this who knows more. And, there's one deposit, mostly sort of run out. So somebody gave me this piece a number of years ago now, at least 10, and I've been appreciating it ever since. It sort of took time to grow on me. Let me see if I can show you. It's actually a little bit translucent. This layer here, this line, has got crystals in it that the light comes through, but you've got to catch it the right way, and I can't show it to you here. Good morning, Andrea. Good morning, Kaya. We're doing rocks inside on a windy day. But, there's nothing missing. Carolite. Heather, good morning, honey. Yay, we're all together. Our next little friend for this morning is a piece of orange calcite, of which I'm very fond. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's just got this lovely translucentness about it, and it's got that soapy finish on it. It's really quite shiny and smooth to stroke. And I just like it. They're all little stones today, but they're just gorgeous. Look at that. Nora, good morning, gorgeous. Lovely to see you. And good morning to anybody who I don't know who you are. It's lovely to have you. Nuris, good morning. Just enjoying the rocks today because it's way too windy out there to be outside. Now, what have we got here? This is sort of, it's the same mineral as tiger's eye. In fact, it is, but it's the blue one. Yeah, it does feel nice. That one's sort of all smooth and yummy to stroke. You're right, Andrea. So I don't know what the common name is, but it's a kind of quartz that had something happen to it. Morning, Rhonda, which makes these lines that then show up and catch the light and be beautiful. And see, it's really quite dark and blue on it. She's just nearly dropping it. So there's that piece, and we also have a red one. Same mineral, different bits in it that make for a colour. I'm really technical this morning, can you tell? I don't know what it is that makes this one brown and the other one blue, but I enjoy being able to share it with you. And look, it's so shiny. Trisha, good morning, beautiful. It's lovely to have you here. Well, my yard is breezy too, trust me, Kaya. It's just too windy outside. So, it's sunny and all. You can see from the photograph, there's clouds scudding across the sky. There's white horses on the hut. And it's windy, and that makes it hard to think outside. So we're in here. So today I want to address a question that Charlotte asked yesterday. It was a really good question because we were talking about when you're going along with your creation and you're starting to feel some positive outcomes, positive effects, you're getting synchronicities, you're in a flow, good things are happening, and then suddenly it's like, it turns to shit, or it seems to. It's like something goes wrong, you have a setback, you have something unexpected. It's like, and we're just recapping yesterday, the human response is to think, oh, maybe it's not working. Hi, Linda! Maybe I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? What have I still got to learn from this? All those normal responses. And my thing from that is there's nothing, quite often there's nothing to learn. You just got to stay the course and realise that it's kind of the old self still being there for you to say, no, I'm not going to go back to who I was. Oh, I'm happy you can sit and listen, Kaya, and it's great to be with you. Yay. Sanchia, good morning, honey. So that was yesterday, and Charlotte's question was, okay, so if the shit comes down, if things, I have a setback of, like my husband's foot turns under him and suddenly he's got a sprained ankle, it's like, you were healing, so, well, what's the deal? And again, listen to yesterday if you know what the feck I'm talking about. The question was, how do I know, if this is feedback from from the universe or whatever, how do I know whether this occurrence is telling me that I broke my creation, like I buggered it up, I did something wrong, I fell off the cart and my ego got in the way or whatever, all of those things. Did I do something wrong, or is this just kind of a Is it me, the universe, saying, hey, Maddie, do you really mean it? Are you going to continue to be who you're going to be, even in the face of circumstances? And I thought about this, how do I know whether this is sort of feedback or I screwed up? Dear Slava, good morning. How do I know, In other words, am I still on path, or have I left the path, but I don't realise it? How do I know? Is this thing that went wrong, because really there is no went wrong, is that telling me that you just stick to what you're doing, or do I need to change something? And I thought about this, and my first response was, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And here's why. Whatever's happened has happened. What's important is you not getting stuck in the fact that it's happened, and how long it takes you to move out of your initial emotional reaction to the fact that it's happened. The refractory period. Let me explain what a refractory period is. When you get a shock, or you lose your rag, or you suffer a loss, you cry, whatever, you get a surprise, a neural net fires in your brain because you notice something in your environment that impacts you and changes the way you feel. Actually, I've jumped ahead. I'm not perfect at explaining this, so bear with me. You notice something. There's new information you haven't experienced. Your brain strings together neurons because it's a new experience. And when you have a new experience, you make new neural networks. When you do that, you get neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters talk to your emotional brain through neuropeptides, and you get a hormonal expression, which hits your neuropeptides talk to your hormonal centers, and you get hormones and you have an emotion. That's what an emotion is. It's chemistry in your body. Now, that rush of hormones, be it rage or sorrow or surprise or delight or love or whatever, if it's just a bing and you're having a response, lasts for 90 to 120 seconds. That is the refractory period. If an emotion keeps going after that, particularly a negative one, I'm sorry, you and I are doing it. We are keeping it going. And we keep it going often because, if you just have a reaction to something like, oh, it's a surprise, but, whatever, you just deal with it. It doesn't last very long, right? But if it triggers into something else, then, the brain by association says, oh, that reminds me of this, and reminds me of this, and it reminds me of this, and it reminds me of this, and it grows and grows and grows and grows. It gets bigger, right? Keeps going. Krista, good morning, lovely. So the refractory period, we can make it last by not realizing that this is how the brain works. And so you have an experience that reminds you of something else. And I don't mean it logically and rationally necessarily reminds you. Sometimes it does. You think, oh my God, that reminds me of that time when I was betrayed or hurt or whatever. But quite often we don't make a logical connection. Hi, Emily. But we just keep on feeling shitty. Something happens, you feel bad, and then you feel bad all day. Or, the mistake that I would never make is to wake up in the morning and watch the news. Because what are you going to immediately do? Fire up all the negativity that's going on, in the world. Says, oh, the world is a bad place. There's all this shit happening. And there you go. Now you've got all those nasty neural networks running all day. The refractory period just carry on. So, being able to shorten the refractory period is key, because otherwise you're stuck in that reaction and think, oh, what did I do wrong, and why did this happen to me, and and you can get really wound up about it, and you get wound up about the fact that you don't know. And what are you when you're wound up? You're going into higher and higher states of beta brainwaves, and remember, you're heading towards survival. And when you're heading towards survival, when you're in fear or stress or grief or anger or rage or distress or whatever it is, you can't think, because all the energy, all the blood supply is going to your reptilian brain, and it's about running away, fighting an enemy, or freezing and hoping that the predator's not going to catch you. That's all that's going to happen when you're in that much stress. So you have to break that. And I talked to you about that the other day, about how I had to break my own refractory period, and I had spent some time going into it because I wanted to know what it was about. And then once I knew, I had to stop it. So when the thing happens, then you got to get out of it. And we've spoken about, I'm not going to talk about how to do that today. Plenty of other times we talk about that. So once you've moved through that process, if you have an intention, and I mean not just a sort of flighty thought, oh yes, I want to know, but a really deep commitment to the fact that I want to know the truth about myself, about my situation, about, I want to know. And I don't necessarily need, right now I can't see it, but I'm going to trust that I will get the information I need. And when you calm down, you will, you'll get a sense in yourself. Or you'll calm down, you'll forget about it, you'll carry on with your day, and a thought will just fly into your head, or somebody will drive past in a car with this radio blaring out the window, and the line from the song will just strike you, and you'll think, oh, I know now. Yeah, when you least expect it, boom, the answer comes. Because you let it go, you got out of the emotional state that was to do with the problem, which is the old self, the old life, the old way of being, and you came back to yourself, you calmed down, you got out of the refractory period, you said, I'm committed to knowing the truth, I really am, but I don't need to know it right now. And if you do, well, you're still going to have to calm down and centre to get a good steer. Because if you're in survival, all you're doing is fighting or fleeing or freezing. That's it. So you don't need to know. You don't need to be able to work it out. It doesn't matter what it was that manifested that particular thing. You need to move through your reaction to it so that you can calm yourself. Trust in the unknown, the bit that you don't know, that the answer's going to find you, because it will when you're calm. And when you're just trusting that it's going to find you in some unexpected way. Yeah, and the emotion, yeah. Yeah, and you do feel the emotion in your body, don't you, Sonja? And the same when the thing lands, when the truth, when the answer, when the insight, when it comes to you, it's like, oh, I feel that. It resonates. And all of you here, you wouldn't be sort of playing in this space if you didn't have a sense of, yeah, that feels really right. I know this is true. And your brain is saying, but how do you know it's true? What? Where's the facts? Where's the evidence? Where's the proof? And we're constantly doing this dance of, do I trust the unknown and myself to connect to the unknown and to let things come to me? And I told you about my, the big decision I made the other day about that. Or do I just want someone else to say, here it is, this is what you should do. Now you don't have to feel the fear and face your own fears about not knowing and having to trust. And I say having to trust is the wrong way. You can't say you must trust. It doesn't work, right? God, that doesn't work. So let me play with this another way. You have the reaction, you have the surprise, you have the If you realise that is chemistry, the classic one is when you're driving and somebody cuts you off, right? And you've got to fire up some adrenaline and things to avoid having an accident. So it's an appropriate response to go and you may want to, you may say a few words and whatever, but if you're still feeling angry at that person 5 minutes down the road, you're doing it. You are doing it. So you got to move through. You got to let it go. However you do that. And that allows you to come back to yourself again and to feel the truth inside you that says, oh, okay, I really don't know the answer to this, but I know that I've had questions before. I know that I haven't understood before, but when I rested with it and when I trusted with it just a little bit, I found that the answer arrived. And we are looked after because our own soul, intelligence, source, divine, whatever it is, exactly, Sonjia, gets the information to us, usually in the perfect time. And it arrives, you think, oh, wow, that's amazing. Oh, that's awesome. And then after that's happened a few times, you think, why the hell am I so scared before it arrives? When every time it arrives and it arrives perfectly, why am I putting all this energy into feeling fearful because it hasn't come yet when I know that it's going to come? Because, you start to get some mileage. The very first time you do this, it's like, ah! But when you've done it even a few times and you start to think, I really need to be letting go and surrendering into trusting this process a bit more. You can't force yourself to surrender. It doesn't work like that. That's coercion. That's not surrender. And surrender is not collapse either. Surrender isn't, I give up. No. Surrender is kind of opening to possibility. It's softening. But it's not closing and collapsing. It's softening and opening and letting things in. And to do that, you have to not be in survival. So I will tell the story. When I was 21, I used to be very Christian, just so everybody knows. And there was a series of events that happened at the church that I was attending, which, there's no need to tell. People were saying things to me and saying, you are doing things for a particular reason, which is bad. And I knew that was bullshit. They just had a problem with me, and I didn't even understand why. And I was in this place of saying, of thinking to myself, asking myself a very deep question, because I was such a good girl. Do I believe what they're saying about me because they're my leaders and they're an authority over me and I'm supposed to do what they say and think what they tell me to think, because that was the programming, man. Or do I follow my truth, which says that's wrong? That's really wrong. It's not true, and I know it's not true. Big decision for me. And at the time, what happened was, there is a scripture in one of the letters of John, I can't remember the reference now, basically says, you don't need anyone to tell you the truth. You can figure it out yourself. It's there, in black and white, and I don't think that if you went back to the original Aramaic or whatever it is, that it would be any different. You don't need anyone to tell you what the truth is. And in those days, the Bible was very, it was the truth, it was the thing. But there it was, and I thought, And the decision I made was, you know what? If God is God, if God is really big and true and divine and real and everything else, God will not care if I take truth and kick it from here to the end of the universe and back. If I try to destroy it, break it apart, rip it to pieces, get inside it, pull it apart, whatever, I don't care. If God minds me doing that, then God isn't God. If God minds me honestly wanting to know the truth for myself and work it out for myself, I'm not interested. Very deep decision. Because, back then, for me, it was like, screw it, if I go to hell, I just don't care. I'm not going to keep believing what everybody tells me. This has to work for me now. So forget the fear of punishment. What a load of lies that is. I made a very deep choice that it had to be real for me now. I wasn't just going to live my life and do the good thing and go to heaven later and have a good time. I wanted to live now. I actually wanted my life to make sense to me now instead of just being about eternal, do the right thing and doesn't matter if it feels bad. It wasn't even the right thing. So the point I'm making is that back then and ever since, I've had a really deep commitment to know the truth, to be open to the truth, to be willing to examine things, to poke them, to prod them, to rip them to pieces and see if they come back and stick together again. Because if they don't, if you can't do that to whatever it is that you want to know is useful and right for you, it was never truth to start with. If you can't take a sledgehammer to truth and have it stand up to whatever punishment you can ladle out to it, how good is it? Didn't really expect to end up here today. But, the same kind of we're safe to question ourselves and our lives and everything that hard if we realise that the answers are going to come if you just calm down, get out of the refractory period. Don't worry about the fact that something's happened. If everything is for me, if everything is for you and not happening to you, then really, if I believe that, what business have I got being afraid? Oh, it's just my habit, I'm human, I don't really like the unknown. I get that. But, it's a really deep choice to say, screw it, I don't care what I've been told to believe by anybody. This has to be real and true for me. And I guess when the shit comes down and when things go wrong, we want to sort of look out to our teachers and the things we've read and what we've believed and use those as guidance. But often, if you're really in a process of change, that brainwashing and that programming, it's actually falling to pieces because it was never true for you to start with. And the adversity is actually there to show you, say, this is a lie, this is limiting you. Now, I'm not saying to anybody who has a beautiful Christian faith that you shouldn't have one. That was my path, not yours. If you are dedicated to another religion and it helps you connect to source, go do that. Absolutely. This is my journey. It's nothing about yours. What I am saying is, if you're wondering what's right for me, don't be afraid to kick the hell out of truth, kick the heaven out of it, kick everything out of it. Be determined to establish and walk in and live your own truth. If it doesn't resonate, then either you're in survival and you're getting cruddy information, or it's bullshit for you. Because remember, if something that's really true for you can feel very fearful or wrong when you're not in a calm and centered state. So that is the proviso there. You can think, oh my God, this feels really wrong. And there's a part of you that says you need to do or be or have or whatever it is this. Another part of you is saying, no, I'm far too scared. So that's the thing. You've got to get out of survival. And when you're centered, when you're calm, when you're connected, you will know the truth for yourself. And you don't need anyone else to tell you. The answers are going to come. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you for your beautiful comments. I'm looking forward to responding to them, and I'm sure we'll have something come out of this for next week. It is Friday. It's been a week where I feel like I've been in a TARDIS. I am somebody else. I've been somebody else every morning this week. I've been somebody else every morning for a long time, but more so. It's lovely to share with you. Look out for resonant replays, and I will see you on Sunday, Monday. Until then, much love.